Fantastic. So a big warm welcome to everybody in May Lyme 2023 for the Lyme Disease Association of Australia. And we're very lucky and privileged to have Lisa here with us tonight. I'd like to say it's fantastic to see so many people who've shown up for this tonight. I mean, we're all in this together, and it's not a fun journey. It's not a fun fight or an easy fight. But these kind of tools that Lisa's offering us tonight do make a huge difference in how we thrive through our experiences of Lyme and associated diseases, or any multi-system illness that you might have. So Lisa, God bless you for being here. I'll just give you a little bit about Lisa's background. Lisa knows what it's like to suffer for years of chronic illness. Lyme and autoimmunity stole her former career and busy lifestyle and led to her health hitting rock bottom. For 6 years, she was unable to work. To support her own health, Lisa called on nutrition, energetic medicine, herbals, and supplements. But the key to supporting her journey was uncovering the root cause and taking action to calm her nervous system and rewire her brain. Now she helps others find the root cause and recover their health as well. Lisa's extensive qualifications include certifications and training that supports nervous system regulation, emotional freedom, EFT, brain health rewiring, energy psychology, and more. Her personal experience with chronic illness, particularly Lyme disease, fuels her passion for supporting others on their healing journey. To learn more about Lisa and her valuable expertise, I encourage you to visit her website at lisagumieniuk.com. There you can explore her background, qualifications, and the transformative services she offers from a free nervous system reset and rewire Facebook group, a monthly reset membership, and private one-on-one guided reset journeys. So without further ado, I'm going to sit back and listen and learn and have my own experience with Lisa as she enlightens us on the intricate relationship between chronic illness and the nervous system. So Lisa, thank you. I can't say God bless you too many times, so I appreciate you being here. You're muted, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Sharon. It is such a gift to be here. Thank you so much for the kind words. And yeah, it's really, it's really heartfelt to each and every one of you here. Thank you for being here. And whilst I don't know what it's like to walk in your exact shoes, I have been on my own journey, and it's been a super, super challenging journey. And as Sharon said, part of what I do is so that others don't have to walk the path that I do, because sometimes, there are ways that we can support ourselves that can be a lot easier. And sometimes we think healing is hard, but it doesn't always need to be. But we have this really great talk today about the link between chronic illness and your nervous system. And chronic illness can incorporate a number of things, because a lot of it has to do with our immune system. So with Lyme disease, we're fighting infections and different pathogens, and it's affecting multiple parts of the body. So whether it is Lyme disease or other components coming together, then we can look at it from the perspective of our nervous system. So I'm so excited to go on this journey with you. And what I say is it's my, hope that what I can bring to you is a little bit of hope, because we all need a bit of that, don't we? And it just helps us to lighten the load. So just a bit of a medical disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice, and just some basic kind of copywriting in terms of the information that is presented here today. Over on the side is the chat box, so you are welcome to ask questions, and sometimes there might be some links that go in if I talk about certain things and certain resources. So I just wanted to go through, we don't have a lot of time together today, but there is so much to talk about. I probably have an hour's worth of slides and information to share with you, and we're going to try and cram as much in as possible. But what I wanted to go through to start off with is why we're talking about the nervous system in terms of looking at that from a health perspective. Tiny bit about me, but Sharon's covered a lot of that, so thank you. What is the nervous system? What influences the nervous system, and therefore how that can affect you, or how you can influence the nervous system? Who can benefit from supporting the nervous system? A little bit of research, and we're going to go through a beautiful nervous system exercise, and one that I was doing just before we jumped on tonight. And then I've got some resources that are available for you, and some special ones as a result of this, this talk and this masterclass today. So I wanted to share with you why the nervous system. And that is, why are we looking at the nervous system in terms of health? Because some of the practitioners are sharing this amazing piece of information. So a lot of summits and practitioners on summits are sharing this. I'm hearing this from local practitioners, and I'm hearing this from clients who are seeing local practitioners. And what they're saying in terms of people recovering from chronic health challenges, then the nervous system is looking like it is 50% of the puzzle. 50% of people's recovery journey is related to the nervous system. 25% in terms of supplements and medications, and then 25% based on environmental triggers. So Sharon is saying, holy or holy moly, absolutely. And what's also happening is a lot of people are becoming more and more sensitive to things, food, the environment, medications. And so they're going to practitioners, and then the practitioners are saying, I can't help you right now because you're so sensitive to things. So I can't give you medication. I can't give you supplements. So go away for 6 months, do some work to support your nervous system. Once the nervous system is a little bit settled, then come back and then we can work on some of those other elements. So this is why we are focusing on and talking about the nervous system today, because it is a key piece in terms of health and healing. And so if you want to pop anything in the chat as we go, you are more than welcome to. As I said, a little bit about me. Oops, where's my little, I think it's going too quickly, or I have, yeah, a little bit about me. So I help people who are stuck in chronic illness, in symptoms, in fatigue and anxiety, to regulate their nervous system, to rewire their brain, to resolve past traumas or experiences. And to ultimately, what we want to do is we want to restore resilience, the immune system, and therefore health. So I say, like, if this sounds like you and what you're looking for, you're in the right place today. So I wanted to share this with you very briefly, because whilst I might be bubbly, energetic, and sharing this story with you, as I said, I know what it's like to be in similar shoes to you. One was having an IV, and I was so unwell at the time. I literally, if I kind of look into my eyes in this image, at times I felt like there was literally nothing left of me. And this one here was actually a list of a lot of my supplements at the time. And it was a photo that was taken for an article that also mentioned the Lyme Disease Association of Australia many years ago. So I have a very, 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 very big toolkit of resources of my own personal experience and a lot of training that I've been through. But what we want to talk about here today is not necessarily about me, a little bit about my journey and story and how things kind of came to play, but we want to look at the nervous system and why it's important to health. So to understand why it's important to health, we kind of need to understand what is the nervous system and kind of where does some of this stuff actually come from. It is grounded in science. It is grounded in neuroscience. It is grounded in psychoneuroimmunology, which is the science behind relaxation techniques and the immune system, the nervous system, the endocrine system. It's based on something called polyvagal theory, which is a way of looking at the nervous system. It's based on research from the HeartMath Institute and the connection with the heart, which links in with the nervous system. And so lots of research is kind of the foundation for working with the nervous system. So what is the nervous system? Well, when we hear the term the nervous system, like what does it mean, or how does it relate to us? Ultimately, to some extent, we can break it down really, really simply with these concepts that we have here. And that is, our nervous system supports us to either be in a state of rest and digest and healing, or a state of fight, flight, and freeze. When we're in a state of rest, digest, and healing, we are in what we call our parasympathetic nervous system. When we're in fight, flight, or freeze, we're in our sympathetic nervous system and sympathetic dominance. So what happens is, when we're in a state of chronic illness, we become in that state of fight, flight, or freeze. Our body gets stuck. Our nervous system gets stuck. So that fight, flight, or freeze response, both responses are survival responses. So our nervous system says, hey, something's not right here. Just like what would happen if we saw a tiger. We saw a tiger, you might run away, that's the flight. You might freeze in front of the tiger, or you might try to fight the tiger. We don't see tigers anymore. different things become our tigers. Our phones become our tigers. The dinging of emails, the pressure becomes those tigers and puts us into fight, flight, or freeze. And so when we're in fight, flight, or freeze, we are not digesting and we are not healing. So we're either healing or we're not. We're in our parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, or we're in our sympathetic nervous system, or for those who might know a little bit more about the nervous system, we might be in another state called our dorsal vagal part of the nervous system, which is more of that kind of freeze and shutdown and collapse state, which often happens with chronic illness. So also with and I've got some slides coming up as well to kind of show a little bit more about the nervous system, what happens in the body. So I wanted to share, I guess, this particular phrase with you. We live in a continual state of stress, because stress is what causes us to go into fight, flight, or freeze. Now, there's all kinds of stresses that we can have, you know, in our day, in our week. We can have acute stress, we can have chronic stress, but unfortunately, we're not going into those states of acute stress and then our body is rebalancing. We have traumatic responses or have a traumatic experience, and often our body can stay in that stuck state. So sometimes there might be repetitive thoughts or repetitive actions. Being unwell for a long period of time can keep you stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze response. So what we have here is an image of our nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system. So what is our parasympathetic nervous system? It is our vagus nerve. So hands up if you've heard of the vagus nerve. Yeah, so a few of you heard of the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve runs from the brainstem, it runs all the way down, connects in with our eyes, our larynx, our thorax, all the way down to our chest and our lungs, our heart, and our digestive system. So when we have symptoms, problems with breathing, that can be impacted by the vagus nerve. Our heart, pupil dilation, changes in your prosody of voice, your tone of voice, challenges with digestion, lungs, constipation, diarrhea. A lot of that actually has to do with the nervous system and the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system not being switched on. Because when we go into our sympathetic nervous system, that survival response, our body says, hey, I don't need to digest that 3-course meal that I've just eaten. I've just seen a tiger and I need to focus on survival. So what do I need to do in terms of survival? You know, I need to send blood to other parts of my body. I need to stop digestion and I need to, run away from the tiger that's in front of me. So when people have various symptoms, a lot of it is to do with the nervous system, because the nervous system or our is regulated by, if we kind of go a level higher, our autonomic nervous system is what we're talking about. And what does autonomic mean? It means things that are happening automatically. So a lot of these functions that we're seeing in here, the pupils dilating, the secretory organs and saliva glands producing, the heart rate, the lungs constricting or dilating, and what happens with our gut, all happens automatically beyond our conscious awareness and happening for us, but it shuts down as a result of that survival response. So just a little bit of an image here. So we've got the fight, the flight, the freeze, but we also have please and appease. We have, that sense of collapse. We also have, attachment or crying out to others for help. So what happens is, whilst we have these physical responses, we also have, to some extent, these emotional responses. Now, what happens is our prefrontal cortex, our rational mind, our ability to think clearly goes offline. So there is also an emotional component to what people go through in this fight, flight, or freeze response in the parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system response. Parasympathetic response is calm and grounded, relaxed. When you're in a sympathetic state, then the body's not relaxed and you're not necessarily able to think clearly or rationally or think your way out of a situation. So sometimes it can be very hard to think your way out of chronic illness. But there's another way. So a lot of it is linked to, or majority of it is linked to stress. And, you know, we kind of hear the concept of stress all the time, but stress causes such an impact on our nervous system, such an impact on our immune system. I did a quick search the other day. This number just keeps getting bigger. You see, I think it's 4,040 million results with the word stress when I typed it into Google. So stress can be defined as a state of worry, mental tension caused by a difficult situation. So we have so much stress that's going on. The thought of being unwell causes stress. You know, symptoms and the thought of symptoms can cause stress, and that can self-perpetuate, because also the nervous system is about, we talked about the survival response, it's about being safe. So if in your mind, part of you doesn't feel safe, or you don't feel safe with symptoms, then we create this kind of a bit of a loop with thoughts. Thoughts go round and we think, oh, when part of our body says, no, I don't feel safe, I've got these symptoms, got the thoughts again, got the symptoms again, and we go round and round and create these neural networks in the brain. And so some of these stories, beliefs, experience, and feelings get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they all create and impact the state of our nervous system. So researchers have said that between 75 and 90% of human disease are related to the activation of the stress system, and that chronic inflammation is an essential component to chronic disease. Stress, nervous system. There is a lovely little piece of information that I'm just going to read to you from this book here called The Healing Code. And the team, which is Alexander Lloyd and Ben Johnson, went around to a number of, as I was doing their presentations on the heart rate and the nervous system and the immune system, they would interview people. So I'll just read a little bit of a clip here. Why would the brain send a signal of, I guess, survival, for example, or messages to the immune system? Well, think about it. What is the purpose of the sympathetic nervous system? It's to save our lives. The immune system, what's its purpose? It's to fight bacteria, fungus, viruses, make repairs, and destroy abnormal cells, such as cancer cells. Does any of that have to happen in the next 5 minutes? Of course not. Also, the immune system has uses a huge amount of energy. Remember, we want all of our energy and resources to go to go for one purpose for the next few minutes, and that is to save our lives when we get into that response. So everything that is not essential for the next few minutes while things are being shut down, whilst you experience a stressful or traumatic experience, gets shut down. But as we know, we've been talking about, the problem today is that we live in a continual state of that fight, flight, and freeze. So they traveled around the world doing heart rate variability testing. And heart rate variability is a gold standard for the measure of resilience to do with the nervous system. And they came up with a fascinating and relevant phenomenon that they said has emerged. So they said when they tested people, they would ask each person one question. And I'll ask you as well, and you're more than welcome to put the information in the chat. That question is, do you feel stressed today? So they said, do you feel stressed today? And they said 50% of people said, yes, I feel stressed today. And 50% of people said no, that they didn't feel stressed. Of the people, no, I'm on holidays. Lovely, Caroline. Well, this might be of interest because of the people that answered, the 50% that said that they did not feel stressed, over 90% of people, when they tested them with heart rate variability, were found to be in physiological stress, the kind of physiological stress that can lead to illness and disease. So even people who didn't think that or feel that they were in stressed were actually stressed. So super interesting. So yes, yes, not right now. Yes, yes, laughing out loud. I'm the latest host, remember? Yep, absolutely. And I've got some stress as well because, you know, stress is not always a bad thing. It can be a good thing, but this is talking about stress that impacts, you know, the immune system. So we kind of get the picture that stress is really important. Research shows that chronic stress and anxiety can trigger immune cells to create brain inflammation. Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of brain inflammation that happens, a lot of brain fog, word finding, etc. A lot of inflammation caused by stress. Because we also know that sometimes when you're doing something, you kind of can't find words. You're like, hang on a minute, I could talk, and now I'm in this stress response, or I'm stressed and I can't find the words. I wanted to share this information with you from Gumieniuk. He is absolutely amazing. And he said, I can't remember exactly where it was. I didn't actually jot down the source, but he said, medicine is very interesting. You go to a dermatologist with an inflamed skin. What kind of cream do they give you? They give you a steroid cream, right? If you go to a rheumatologist and have an inflamed joint, what kind of medication are they going to give you? A steroid very often. If you go to a lung specialist with asthma, what kind of inhaler are they going to get you? A steroid. If you go to a gastroenterologist with inflamed intestines, what kind of medication are they going to give you? Are they going to get steroid? And he says, what are steroids? Anyone know what steroids are? Steroids are copies of cortisol, the stress hormone. So we're treating everything with stress hormones. Stress has something to do with the onset of these conditions. So we know that there's stress. We know that that impacts the immune system. We know that impacts our body functions. Now, one thing that did I mention or not mention is, so whilst it impacts different organs within the body, it also influences our immune system, as we kind of talked about in that example. So what are the things that influence your nervous system? So we've kind of spoken about some of those in terms of stress. Yeah, we've got Linda, very allergic to steroids. Yeah. So this is kind of a bit of a process or an overview that I've created in helping people to understand what happens with the nervous system, because, you know, we talk about different nervous system responses, for example. So we are ourselves. We kind of got this little bit here, the physical body, stillness, awareness, consciousness, health, or healing. Then we go out in the world and we have different experiences. What happens with those experiences? Those experiences are based on what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we taste, what we smell, all those bits in the middle. And that is all related to our nervous system. Our brain then takes all of that on board from our nervous system, interprets that, and then it creates outputs. And those outputs are thoughts, emotions, and sensations within the body. Then we also create stories, loops of those stories or patterns, and distress or dis-ease in the body, reducing our body's ability to heal, go into that parasympathetic nervous system, and then we go into a state of dis-ease or symptoms. So also, just have a look at my little bits here. So what influences your nervous system? All of your experiences, what we touch, what we taste, what we smell, hear, etc. All of our experiences, whether we're awake or we're not awake. The brain influences it. It interprets things. The vagus nerve that we spoke about, and our body, somatics, the feelings and sensations with our body, they are all linked in terms of the influence and the constant influence and signaling. So the vagus nerve, as I've got a really lovely picture in here, is what we call afferent. So afferent means it takes communication from the body and sends it up to the brain 80% of the time. 20% of the time, it takes information from the brain down into the body. So some people struggle to do, meditation or breathing exercise, for example. That might be an impact on the nervous system and the limbic system. But when we're working with the nervous system, we can work from the body to send signals of safety and calm the nervous system down by working with the body. We don't always have to work with meditation or just with conscious thoughts. So what we see, what we touch, what we smell, all influences our nervous system. So who can benefit from supporting their nervous system? And I was talking to a practitioner who may or may be on here at the moment the other day. She said, Lisa, you know, who can benefit from this kind of work? And it kind of got me thinking, and I've got it broken down to some extent into 3 levels here. First level is everybody, whether people think they're stressed or they're not, as per those statistics. Number 2, if we kind of break it down a little bit more, people who have acute health challenges and chronic health challenges. Because people who are going through acute challenges, if we can regulate the nervous system and calm the nervous system's response down, there's a potential it's less likely to go to an acute situation, or they're more likely to be more resilient to be able to handle acute chronic situations. And then likewise, people who are in chronic health situations, learning to regulate the nervous system and get out of that fight, flight, or freeze and regulate into that parasympathetic state allows the body to get to a state where it's healing and it's relaxed. And then the immune system switches on. And so we can kind of look at a whole different list. And I've kind of only put a few on here, but we could go on and on and on forever. So, you know, concepts around where people's treatments, people doing lots of treatments and not getting results. So whether that is people who are just doing nutritional things, or, you know, people have gut challenges and are doing nutritionals, people are doing herbals, people are doing detoxing, medications, as I gave you the statistics or the information earlier. You know, a lot of practitioners are saying, like, I'm supporting clients with all the right resources and they're taking them, and I believe they're taking them, or they're having the right nutrition, etc., but they're just not getting better. I don't understand why. This can be a really big missing piece. People have tried everything, anyone with symptoms, anyone with pain, you know, that concept of people started with the perfect storm. So there's a whole host of reasons why people got sick in the first place, because a lot of those, you know, the perfect storm or the experiences, and I've also got, I'll get some elements of trauma that influences the body. So even though it happened previously, the body can still feel or think it's happening now. Emotional dysregulation, so stress, anxiety, depression, inability to, you know, handle certain situations, you know, trouble setting boundaries with different people and family members, taking on emotions or experiences from others, you know, being the caring one, but not caring for yourself. You know, feeling like on your health journey that there is a missing piece, but you can't quite put your finger on it and you don't quite know what it is. Feeling or being stuck in chronic illness or situations, health anxiety, have medical traumas. Yeah, in the comments here, trauma and abuse, absolutely. Past traumas, what we call Uden moments, unexpected, distressing, isolating, no resources. And I'm sure you've all have all of those or some of those in your experiences. And they contribute to your picture, because if we take the works of Gabor Mate, Bessel van der Kolk, who look at things a lot from a trauma perspective and a nervous system perspective, there's a lot of research in looking at what we call the ACE study, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, where people who had adverse experiences or traumas as children tend to have medical health challenges later on. And there's a correlation between the two. Generational trauma, because we actually take on that through our genes. Because when you are in, I'm going to get it right here, when you are in your mother's, like something about your grandmother, your mother's in the womb, and then you're there as well. So you actually take on genes, experiences from your loved ones. And people who have been recommended to do brain retraining. So brain retraining can also support nervous system work, and I feel that they go hand in hand. I don't think it's one or the other, they're very much together. What I've done, and we can pop it in the chat, is a link to a little questionnaire survey that I put together, which is health beliefs and mindset measure of illness resilience. So I've kind of got a number of these elements in here and a whole of others that you can look at and say, are these some of the patterns or behaviors that I have with where I'm at with my health at the moment, or interacting with other people? So really good breakdown. So we'll pop that in the chat in a minute so you can access that. Awesome, great. So that was in relation to who can benefit from supporting their nervous system research. Now, Sharon, please also let me know in terms of timing, how we're going. So
you're good, Lisa. It's all good.
Great, thank you. So in terms of, I did want to share just a few little pieces of research with you because it's important to see where also some of this is coming from. So this was done with, I think it was 200 people over a 4-day weekend, and they were training in EFT. EFT is emotional freedom techniques, also known as tapping. It has so much research to support it at the moment, and it's often compared to a lot of gold standard techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, and it is absolutely amazing. It's what we call one of the bottom-up techniques. So we spoke about going from the body to the brain. EFT is an amazing body to brain technique and approach for regulating and supporting the nervous system. So we can see some of the results here from before they started and afterwards. There was a 40% reduction in anxiety, 35% reduction in depression, PTSD symptoms, happiness increased. We've got some blood pressure, and I think it was very much based on food cravings because they would have gone through some exercises that were food craving specific. And pain was down. And I love these statistics. Cortisol, stress hormone, was down 37%. So that's going to be improving and supporting our nervous system and our immune system. And an immune marker called SIG-A had increased 113%. And so if we have a look at these, we've got the cortisol marker, which was based on a saliva test. And I think the SIG-A was as well. And the anxiety, depression, potentially PTSD symptoms, pain, happiness, and food cravings would have been subjective measures. So they would have said, how do you feel now on a scale of 0 to 10? How much anxiety are you experiencing, or how distressing is it? And then they would have measured it at the end, something along those lines. But there's more information. And again, if people would like access to some of this information, then you are welcome to share some of your details, and I can email over some of the results and more of the information afterwards. A gene study was done. Again, this particular was done on EFT. So it looked at a new saliva called mRNA. They tested 50 minutes worth of tapping. We said just amazing for regulating the nervous system and putting back into that people back into that state of that parasympathetic nervous system and feeling really calm. They measured immediately before doing the session, immediately after the session, 4 hours after, and 24 hours after the session. I think it was a very small study, potentially 4 people, but the results were actually quite amazing. Immediately after the session, 72 genes were expressed differently. 72 genes. So how we're feeling can affect our genes. 24 hours later, 25 genes were found to be expressed differently. And we've got this little comment here. It was worth a note that of the genes that changed after tapping, many of them showed a link to immunity. So we can start to feel better. Our nervous system can start to calm down. We don't feel as stressed or anxious or overwhelmed. And then we've also got some research to support that from an immunity perspective. Lots of research from the HeartMath Institute on heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is the measure of stress and a score of stress. So another way of working with the nervous system is actually working with the heart. So one thing that I do clinically when people work with me one-on-one and in a group setting is start to work with and support the heart and regulate the heart through different breathing methods, different techniques to open up the capacity to feel joy and love and happiness, because all of that down-regulates that stress response. What I also wanted to share here with you is in terms of research and results, I think often what is missed in the picture is what happens clinically. So what practitioners see clinically with clients. Now, I wanted to share this one with you because this is a client who had chronic fatigue for 3 years. This actually was her 10th session with me. So she did a 120-day reset experience or journey with me, which is 10 one-on-one sessions. And we measure everything. We measure things before, during every session, and after, and away along. So people get to see what's happening with their symptoms, what's happening with their emotions, what's happening with things like brain fog. And she'd had chronic fatigue for 3 years, had tried everything, worked with naturopaths, tried the diet stuff. And she said she had tried a brain retraining program and said, I'm just not getting the results. During the first session, she's like, oh my goodness. We worked on a few techniques to support her nervous system. She messaged me afterwards and said, I've just had this experience. Is this normal? I said, yeah, it is. It can be. And was it maybe, she didn't tell me initially, I think it was the 7th or the 8th session in, she said, I'm riding my bike every day. She couldn't do that at the beginning. And she said so much of what she was going through was a dysregulated nervous system and her stress response. And once she knew how, and she had the techniques in place to be able to support that, then she's not as stressed, her body's not tense, and her body can heal and go, okay, I don't need to be so tired anymore. I don't need to go into a shut down collapse state because I've used so much of my energy to try and fight a tiger or a bear that's actually not there. I can use some techniques to regulate my nervous system to feel calm, and then that opens up more capacity and I'm healing. So I think there's lots of results that we can share clinically. So again, if people are interested, I can share, and we've popped that in the link as well, which is some access to different testimonials of people who've been through very, very similar things. Because sometimes when we're going through chronic illness or Lyme and, you know, multiple faceted things, we think we're the only ones who are going through it and we're an anomaly. I've had clients come to me. I also work with a lot of American clients, and they're like, no one understands. I've seen all these practitioners and they just don't understand. So I wanted to share this with you so that you know that I understand, because I've been through it, and there are other people who've been through it and understand as well. And lots of bits and pieces in there. So lots of different, you know, case studies and examples of people for all different things that we can explore. So what I'd love to do if we've got time is, so 2 things. One is to do 1 or 2 little exercises with you and a bit of an experience, and then also talk you through some resources that you can access and how you can get started on the next steps of regulating your nervous system. How does that land, Sharon?
Sorry, my mute didn't work. Fantastic. This is, I think, really on track for people. Well done, Lisa. Awesome.
Fantastic. So I've raced through it all to try and cover it off. We were supposed to do it in a shorter period of time, but there's so much here, and I could literally, you could probably tell, I could literally talk, I could go on and on and on and on and on, and there's so much that I left out of this as well. So what we're going to do is, I'm just having a look at some of the comments. Yeah, great. Okay, so what we're going to do with this exercise is, I'll just check over here. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, I'm going to make this bigger, so hopefully maybe I can see a few more of you potentially in the chat. So I just want you to, maybe it's an invitation. Everything is always an invitation. So maybe place your hand on your chest and maybe a hand on the belly, if that feels good. And just attune to, if it feels okay, to close your eyes or look around somewhere softly gazing. And just an invitation for you to notice how you feel. Maybe how busy your mind is right now. And maybe just rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. How busy is your mind? And then maybe just having a sense of your emotions. Is there a bit of that fight energy, that anger or frustration? Or is there a bit of flight, a bit of anxiety there? Or is there a bit of shutdown? Don't have any thoughts, too overwhelming, feeling really numb? And on a scale of 0 to 10, how big is that? 0 neutral, 10 quite high. And then just having a bit of a sense of the energy that's running through your body. Is it calm, grounded, peaceful, present? Or is it racy, scattered? Just observing. Right. And then an invitation to listen to this word. I'm just going to repeat one word several times, and I want you to see how this lands for you. How does it feel? What thoughts come up for you? Any memories? Any emotions? And this word is no. 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 And then just breathing in, breathing out. Right. So just noticing, and maybe an invitation to open your eyes. Just popping in the chat how that felt for you. Did you notice a change in your thoughts? Did you feel anything in the body somewhere? And how did that feel? A few people tapping away. I love that. Wanted to keep going. Wow, angry, stopped my happiness. Weird, hard to put my finger out. Like a strangle in the throat. Empowering. No is what I'm practicing to say more of. My body literally jolted. Yeah, really interesting, hey? So a little bit of an example of how we are not always aware of what's happening in terms of that stress response, but what can happen. And also that there's a lot of things tied to that no, and then in your experience now, things from the past. Remember, I kind of showed that map of the 5 senses. Things that have happened from the past, a lot of the time have accumulated to this point that I've said the word no, and your body's like, hey, I'm not happy here. And I'm trying to tell you that I'm not happy. For other people, it's empowering because you're kind of learning to and working with that. For some people, it can kind of be reversed. It can feel good, and that actually can need some support. What else have we got? My body was jolted. I didn't like it. It wasn't pleasant. Safer than before. Loved it so much. Maybe because I want to say no in my life at the moment, and it's hard for me. Like a quick hit in the chest with each no. Yeah. So there we've got an example of like body to brain and what's happening. Let's go again, but differently. So an invitation, yeah, not pleasant. Let's see if we can do something differently. So actually maybe just a little bit of a shake, shaking it off for a few seconds. Yeah, or a bit of a rub the hands. Yeah, good. And then coming back down, maybe taking a breath. Got a nervous system release there. I do lots of sighs is a way that my nervous system releases. So when I work with clients, I say, I'm going to do lots of yawning with you. And then just noticing how this lands for you when I say this word. Yes. 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 Right, and breathing in, breathing out, and just coming back into the space when you're ready. Or if it felt good, you can stay there and you can savor that feeling. And then an invitation to pop in how that felt for you. So I've got from the previous one, I went through a heap of emotions. I used to have this voice no over and over in my head as a child, and it was slightly traumatizing. But I'm also learning to say no more in my life. And so I equally loved it as an empowering word. Yeah. Feels amazing, rejuvenating, disbelief. It's not real. Yeah. So the potential for some support of that. And some brain retraining and some rewiring and some nervous system regulation around that, because what we want to do is we want to, when we hear the word yes and the tone of that's of what's involved, we want to be able to connect in with that and for it to feel light and bright and to support our healing, as opposed to it, closing down or feeling like, hey, maybe this isn't possible for me. Invigorating, motivating. I must admit, I thought of that scene from when Harry Met Sally. I have to admit, I actually haven't seen When Harry Met Sally. Didn't watch a lot of those movies as a kid. My shoulders dropped, my breathing was calmer, grounded, validating. Yes, for me was anxiety inducing. Yeah. Weird. Yes, stressed me out a bit. Yep. People pleaser trauma. Yep. Yeah. So again, we can see that sometimes we're having some responses to things that maybe it is the correct response for you and what's happening with your nervous system and how your brain and your nervous system is interpreting it based on things that have happened in the past. So again, just an example of how things are actually, we didn't really talk about a lot, but stored in the brain and stored in the nervous system. Yeah, trauma. So what I'd like to do now is, again, another invitation for you to do a little bit of a nervous system reset. So just checking back in, how busy is your brain on a scale of 0 to 10? How busy is the brain? What emotions are there for you now? They might feel a little bit better, actually, for those of you who that felt quite good and expansive for you. It's noticing if there's any distress, 0 to 10. And, we've got some blue screens and I've got a massive light in front of me here, which is really stimulating for the super stimulating for the nervous system. So, blue light blockers, all of that stuff can be very supportive. What we're going to do now is one of my personal favorite little exercises here, and that is palming. Now, what happens is you can see my little brain. I have a little brain hand. Oh, my brain's. Yeah, so this is Barry the brain. And so what happens is when we grow from an embryo, our forebrain grows, and from our forebrain, our eyes grow. So our eyes are directly connected in with our brain. So when we work with the nervous system, we do a lot of work with the eyes, do a lot of eye movements with people. And something called brain spotting is a bottom-up technique and approach that helps to access deeper parts of the brain and the nervous system. So what we want to do is a little exercise with our eyes to see if we can calm the brain. Now, I've done this for myself where my brain has literally been mush. I didn't have a good sleep. Something was happening. Maybe I was emotional or something had happened, accumulation of things. And I remember one day I went to have a client sessions. I'm like, I can barely put 2 words together. I can't function. What am I going to do? Cupping. So an invitation to cup your hands. And then you're going to take one hand and you're going to cup it over one eye, so crossways, and another hand the other way. And what you want to do is you want to have your eyes open underneath. So your eyes are going to be open and they're going to be cupping over the top, and you want to try and block out everything. So all you see is darkness. So your eyes are open and you're just literally looking into the darkness. I'm just going to check what time it is. And we're going to do this for about a minute. So it can be a little more challenging if you're sitting up. And just notice, what is it that you see when you do this? So you might have, it might be all black, or you might have specks in there of white flashing. You might have purple bits. You might have red bits. You might have yellow bits. Just allow them to be there. Just notice them. And then just notice also your mind, maybe your breathing and your belly. And what we do a lot of the time is we're curious about what's happening. There's no need to change anything. There is no need to force anything. We're just being curious about what's happening. And then taking a breath in, taking a breath out. Now, when you come out very slowly, so it could be you just like move a tiny bit and allow a little space, a little bit of light to come in. Maybe you move your head downwards to the floor and very slowly kind of adjust to the light and to the stimulation. Because when you come out of it, it can be like, well, actually, maybe I'll ask you in terms of, you know, what's your experience of when you come out of it? What was your experience in it? Oops, that was the alarm for that. What I notice is that for myself, my brain slows down, my nervous system slows down, I feel more calm, I feel more grounded. And it is can be the most amazing little nervous system reset that you can do. 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, you can go longer if you like. Very peaceful and calming, soothing, weird at first, but relaxing during and after. Yeah, it's really strange. It's not something that we do. I mean, we're in the dark often and we go to sleep, etc. But actually holding it there, you've kind of got the pressure around. So that also helps with bringing some blood flow to the forebrain, calming the mind down. So if you're anxious and overwhelmed, that can be a really great one because you're kind of touching that area, and you've got, you know, calming the brain down. Do you have to do it with your hands? Can you use an eye pillow? Yes, of course you can use it. Well, it is a little bit different. So using an eye pillow is, this is cupping. Using the eye pillows is more palming. So that is where you take your palms and you place pressure, very light pressure on the eyeballs. So there's research to suggest, and I can't remember the exact something cardiac reflex. When there is a 20% pressure on the eyeballs, it reduces the heart rate. So by putting an eye pillow over, placing your palms gently in the eyeballs can calm the heart rate down and improve heart rate variability and improve, we talk about the nervous system and the vagus nerve. I haven't mentioned the concept, which is vagal tone, and help to improve vagal tone. When you do that one and you have the pressure, when you come out of that one, the eyes can be very kind of woozy. Mine tend to be very blurry for a little bit as you kind of come out of that experience. I personally wear eye patches to bed, and then I have my eye pillow over the top. And if my eye pillow falls off during the night and I wake up, I'm like, where is my eye pillow? I need my eye pillow. Because, you know, that weight and pressure is something my nervous system loves. Weighted blankets, weighted pillows, lots of weight, lots of clothes over the top. What else do we have? I found it was calm if my eyes were closed, but rather having my eyes open. Yeah, so with that one, we like to have the cupping, we like to have the eyes open. So just a bit of an assessment, you know, how busy is your brain now on a scale of 0 to 10? Did you notice a change? Emotions, what's happening with your emotions? Have they changed or shifted at all? has one emotion kind of diminished and maybe it's made way for another one? Oh, I'm almost asleep. I loved it. Yeah, fantastic. Yes, definitely calmer and quieter. Yeah. I've had clients walk into a session so overwhelmed, in that panic or, fight or flight anxiety. And we do that one for a few minutes, just like regulate, ground before we can do some more work and deeper work. So beautiful little exercise that you can do there. So I was thinking the next thing that we would do is go through some different things that you can use for your nervous system going forward, some different things that I've got, especially for Lyme Disease Awareness Month, that are available to you, a few discounts and prizes and things. And then we can open up the floor to questions. Does that resonate, Sharon?
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Everybody's engaged.
Great. So we did the yes/no exercise, did the palming. So what we're going to talk about supporting your nervous system, and obviously you can do those exercises that we've just been through, or there might also be something else that you've kind of picked up along the way. So supporting your nervous system, this is kind of I guess my method or overview, or the concepts or the elements that I've identified for helping people to restore health. And so it's a combination of 6 things: regulating the nervous system, creating that safety, rewiring the brain with neuroplasticity, supporting the limbic system, the emotional center, resolving trauma. There's been a lot of comments tonight about, trauma or past trauma experiences. It gets stuck and trapped in the body and prevents us from healing now. Reinstating somatics. So somatics is like that connection with the body in different body movement, working with the vagus nerve, toning the vagus nerve, what we call heart rate variability practices, working with energy or energy psychology, because we're made up of energy. So working with the subtle energies of the body and rebalancing those, and then reconnecting with the deeper parts of yourself. We've kind of done some physical exercises today, but that can also help you to reconnect with some of those deeper parts. So this is what I use and help and support people with, but you can take some of those elements away and, having a think to yourself, am I regulating my nervous system, or do I feel like my nervous system's regulated? Maybe do I need some support on rewiring my brain, or, is there some trauma that I might need support with? So I think these are also, to some extent, thought-provoking elements for you to, potentially explore. Like, are these maybe some missing pieces for you with your health puzzle that are impacting your nervous system, and therefore your body's ability to fight infection and to create that state of homeostasis and balance? So what do I say? You have all the resources available to you. And what I mean by that is actually within you and inside of you. And the next step is about learning how you can access them. So I've got 4 things to share with you today that are for this month. The first one is I'm doing a giveaway. So I'm going to give away 2 monthly passes or to my membership. So what I do is I run what's called a reset membership. So a nervous system reset membership. And I've just popped the link in the chat. So the reset membership is we go through every month. There's a topic or a theme that we go and reset together on Zoom, beautiful small group. This is a women's only event, and we use a number of techniques. So you get to learn about those techniques during a reset. There is Facebook support. I do a once a month Facebook Live where you get to ask any questions, and I pretty much answer all the questions that people ask during that. It's kind of like a bit of a mini coaching session. It's not the reset experience happens on a Tuesday night and then 2 days later on a Thursday morning. So depending on what time you'd like, you can come to both if you'd like. And it's not a lecture. Like tonight has very much been about me talking to you about, giving you the information. We get straight into those tools and we reset the nervous system in a number of ways to support that healing. So I've got 2 different offers for my reset membership. One is if you join I've got a free Facebook group, the Nervous System Reset and Rewire Facebook group. So we've just popped the link in there. If you join that link, fill out the information and put the words LDAA in that first question, because I think I asked, what are your challenges? You can pop your challenges in there if you like, and pop the words LDAA in there. And on the 1st of June, I'll pop the information into a wheel, and 2 people will get selected to have access to the membership for that. The other offer is until the end of this month is 50% off. It's super, well, for some people it's not affordable, but it's generally $47 per month for the experience, but I'm doing a 50% off for the first month because it is a membership and ongoing, but you can jump on in and you can cancel at any time at all. So there's a code there if you head to the link. And again, if you just want an email with all this information, then pop your details in and we can send one to you afterwards. And then pop the code reset50 into that, and you can get 50% off for the first month. So 2 different offers in there. And then I do a little program. It's called a Chaos to Calm Kickstarter program. It is my signature or my starter EFT tapping program to help regulate the nervous system. So if you don't know anything about this technique that we spoke about, absolutely amazing. And is a really great starter for people to start on the journey themselves. And so I'm doing 50% off that. So I think it's $23.50 for that one. So again, if you use the code CALM50, you get 50% off till the end of the month. And then the way that I work with people is generally for a period of time. So we go on a reset journey for 2, 3, or 60, 90, or 120 days for people who want to go on that one-on-one journey. So I generally don't do one-off coaching, but for the LDAA and for this month, I'm offering a 45-minute coaching session with 75% off. So I think it's $125 for the 45 minutes. So, if from today you've got questions and you're like, okay, what about this? What about that? How might this, relate to me? Or what could we do? What could I do? Or what's a technique that I could use? Then we can work through that. So I don't offer this anywhere else. And it's, I think it's over 50% off my normal rate. So that's something that's really special and specific to this. So we've got those. And then there's other next steps that you could do. I've got some other freebies that are accessible. So I have something called a mountain journey that helps you to work out where you are on your health journey. I mentioned earlier the health beliefs and mindset measure of resilience surveys. If you're like, I still don't know if this relates to me, that is a really great free questionnaire to download and access with some information that supports that. And then we spoke about the membership already. And then for those who want to explore something a little bit more in more detail, then we've got a potential clarity call for working with me one-on-one. And there's a lot of information. The Clarity Call Success Plan outlines all that information in terms of what that potentially looks like. That's a clarity call. And then we've got just, if you want to kind of connect and find out more, I've got the free Nervous System Reset and Rewire Facebook group where I do a few talks, share some information, and there's a few little insights in there. So in a nutshell, what we've been through today, going back to my notes, I guess to some extent is, and doing it to some extent a full circle is, I don't know if we can get there. How do we get there quickly? There we go. Get there quickly is, I guess, coming back to why the nervous system, like why are we talking about this? We've done some experiences. We've had we had some of our own experiences, but why are we doing this? Because working with the nervous system works. It's easy, beautiful, gentle, nurturing work. I don't even think it's work that we can do. It's great for those who, struggle to do things like brain retraining or meditation or mindfulness. And a lot of people who have done brain retraining or various programs, and unfortunately sometimes their symptoms get worse, and I can see some of the elements and understand why that's happening. And we support the nervous system in certain ways that they have greater capacity, and sometimes people go back to certain brain retraining, which is really great. But we're doing it because as we said, a lot of practitioners and doctors are finding, hey, I can't help you with, medications or foods. Your system is so intolerant to things. And they're saying, go and do nervous system work for 6 months. Come back to me in 6 months' time when you can start to tolerate more foods, when you can start to, when I can give you some medication that's going to support you. And then we also look at, that nervous system work, that's why we're doing it. In combination with removal of environmental triggers and the other support. So everything is looked at holistically. Someone had asked a question and said, I think, can you use this with treatments? Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I don't, comment on, different medications and bits and pieces, but this work supports everything, as we went through today. So if you're supporting your nervous system, you're supporting your immune system and your body's ability to fight infection and come back to homeostasis. So it is a really beautiful, can't think of the word, I'll do some tapping to think of the word, really beautiful journey or experiences that you can go on that is going to support your healing. And so we went through also, so that's why the nervous system, we went through what is the nervous system and some of those key elements, but we could talk more. We could get into something called polyvagal theory, but that's for a whole nother presentation. Some of the things that influence your nervous system or have influenced it to the point where you are now. And then having that awareness, you can influence how you respond to things going forward, who can benefit from supporting their nervous system. Obviously, some of the research just that supports that, and 2 little exercises that, a few little exercises that you could do for yourself, and then a whole heap of resources that are available to you. So I guess to some extent, my question would be to you, I always love ending with sort of 2 questions. One is, or 3 questions. One is, if you want to pop it in the chat, what action are you going to take away from this presentation? What are you going to do? Because we can take in these presentations and this information, but where we get the healing is when we take action. So what is one thing that you can do or that you're going to do after this? So pop that one in. Action, commit to morning 12 minutes of PQ reps. Not quite sure that one is. Great. I'm going to try cupping. Oh, hello, lovely. Good to see you again. Try and calm down. Yeah, so trying is using prefrontal cortex, maybe trying to use, or maybe using the body, maybe the cupping. I'm going to recommit to my brain retraining practice, not just learning, recommitting to daily yoga and tapping. Off to the pub to meet my daughter to tell her all about this information. Awesome. And so there you've got something that an action that you're going to take. And what's the other question? Oh, do you remember one of the other questions I ask at the end of reset? It's an action that you're going to take. What's your key lesson or takeaway? That's what you're going to do. Yes, thank you. Yep, I'll mention that one. Explore EFT since it has awesome research. Feeling in questionnaire now. Awesome. Try cupping, be aware of more dealing. Try cupping, being more aware of dealing with nervous system and pain. Yep, so what's your lesson? And then that simple exercise can be very effective. Yeah, yep. And then the other one is, if today's talk or session using cupping where I felt, yeah, great. If today's session was a 1-word gift to yourself, what would that gift be? if today's session was a one-word gift to yourself, what would that gift be? Patience, knowledge, care, beauty, and remembering. Yeah. Oh, I feel that one. I feel them all. Insight. Yep. 2 rememberings. Yeah, great. Excellent. So today's session was also about bringing you some hope. There are some things that you can do for yourself. I often get asked, Lisa, what's like the one nervous system technique that you recommend? I actually did a talk in the Facebook group, so we can pop the link up for that as well. I did a talk this week on the myth about like one technique for the nervous system, because everyone's nervous systems are so different, as we saw with those experiences. For some people, it felt good. For other people, it was distressing. So it's about finding a technique or several techniques that support you. And sometimes it's also doing some of that deeper work as well that just goes beyond the initial regulation. But so many options there available for you. So thank you everyone for connecting, and potentially open the floor to questions. Does that land okay,
Sharon?
Sharon?
Questions, anyone? Is there any? Yeah, we'll just check to see. The chat was very active, so I think they could be expended. Any questions from anybody?
Yes, when we leave this meeting, where we find the links. So the LDAA, I think, will have links. I'll have links as well. So if you want to pop your email in the chat, more than happy to send you the information and links. Great, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Why do doctors treat stress hormones? Why do doctors treat stress hormones for stress-based disease?
Yeah, treat with stress hormones.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Because so much of things that are related to is stress. And so it is really amazing to see clients responses to when we work with the body and the nervous system as to what happens. And doctors don't, traditional doctors don't know about this. They're not aware of the mind-body connection. They go to medical school, they're taught a particular way and method, which is can't think of the right words now. The Western or medical model, as opposed to the what's the word? Not medical model, like integrated biopsychosocial model. That more of that allopathic is another word for it. I've seen, as I said, incredible results from people. I've had people who have had, obviously a lot of clients have Lyme disease, and I've had people had pains in different parts of their body and migrating pain. So we work with one pain at a time. So one pain, how does that feel? What's the sensation? Where is it in the body? We go through some of the techniques that I use, some of the deeper work one-on-one, and then at the end they'd say, get them to check in. It's not there anymore. I said, what was that? I love it. You see the face and the eyes kind of looking around like, it's odd. I can't find that pain. And then we go to the next pain and the next pain. And I remember, we kind of do 5 or 6 pains in a session, and those pains aren't there. I can't believe it. I don't have pain anymore. Because also the brain gets stuck in neural networks and loops. And it kind of remembers that patterning. So we kind of look to rewind that. Thank you so much. Because I haven't learned much about prescribing for symptoms rather than cause yet. Allopathic medicine, treating the underlying, and that's what this is like the underlying components that we're working with, because they're highly inflammatory. Sometimes can save lives. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we need the Western model as well. Check out the giveaways. There's a link there. Wow, amazing. Any other questions?
Time to wrap up, I think. Where to start?
Where to start? So lots of options. So some of those like giveaways and options, jumping into the Facebook group. Start with one. Start with one element and go from there. Can your training sessions heal brain fog and blurry vision? So I don't treat illness or disease. So we work with the brain and the body and the nervous system. But I've seen people have all sorts of results, lots in terms of brain fog. I have worked with some people in terms of vision challenges. But again, it's kind of the brain can get stuck in those response loops. So we want to rewire some of those. Thanks for the information. Terrible head screeching. Yep. Yeah.
So let's wrap it up, Lisa.
Great.
1,000 blessings to you.
Thank you.
Everybody has resources out of this, and you can connect with us on at the LDA if you didn't get the links in the chat. And everybody can tell that people have gained benefit. And thank you for contributing tonight, Lisa.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and thanks for connecting with all of you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I hope you have a ease and graceful and peaceful resolution from tonight. Good night.
Yeah. Good night. Thank you.